we're bringing you a Group 3 race around the Nürburgring. This is one of my favorite tracks. What do you think, Wally?
Yeah, this one, you know, it's a tricky track. That's a... Sorry, I just got distracted by my double T's. It's a tricky track. It's a fun one, and it can be pretty tight in sections. There's definitely also a lot of sections where, you know, maybe you'll be going off, or like you know, there's a lot of gravel traps and sand traps where dipping a tire into those traps can spell disaster for your lap or your race. So, you know, as we're hopefully going to get some close racing and clean racing, if someone gets pushed wide or they take the slightly wrong line while they're fighting, you know, they could end up with a couple of tires in the dirt, and that is not fun for anybody.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's one of my favorite tracks to really push the limits, learn the limits, and see your track time come down and down and down. You get a lap or a line just right, it just not only does it feel so good, but you just see it on your track times, your lap times. So it's one of my favorites for that. I think it can generate some really good close racing, and you can really start to see the difference in how people are performing around here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, if we want to go through some of the pain points of this track as we watch Crispy Nubbins in what looks to me like a watermelon. I don't know about you. Maybe I'm just hungry for lunch.
Yeah.
But
no, it absolutely looks like a watermelon.
Is that that's a Lamborghini? So he's out of his Lexus. He's testing the Lamborghini.
Gotta test the waters, you know.
Listen, but he's got the yellow headlights, so he gets a pass from me. And it looks like watermelon, even though I know it's just, you know, green, white, red for the Italian flag. One of the biggest pain points, I think, for sure, is the chicane that Crispy's coming up on. Never mind, he's not coming up on it anymore. Let's ride along with Mr. Labu, see where they're at over here. Yeah,
coming down on T1, it looks like. Yeah,
that is correct. So it's kind of following for a lap.
It's a tough turn. It's a tough turn to gauge properly, and it's going downhill. So you do want to make sure that you have it properly. Mr. Labu having a good line. Looks like, you know, you come in wide there and cut across the apex, then come off wide over here. Again, a deceptive corner to break in, because you want to be cleaner here. You want to be tighter up on the left hand side to come out wide here, because you can take all this road. There's so much extra room there that you don't really have on a lot of the rest of the track. Then you're coming down here, you carry a lot of speed through here. This makes a big difference. You hit your lift off and you just swoon on down, again going downhill, let gravity do some of the work, but that just means you have to be a little bit more careful of not overloading your car, not overloading your brakes, and heading off in the gravel. You're coming around here again, you know, you come down, shift down. I usually take it, well, my car is a little bit different, but he's the same speeds, and really tidy line so far from Mr. Labu. Like to see it.
Yeah, it's great to see. And I mean, you know, we're coming off of a race where it seemed like Labu just kind of kept their head down and did their race, and you know, they may have had a few fights with people, but for the most part they were very, very consistent with their timings, and they got third place. They were up on the podium because of that. And so if we can see more consistency of the same kind coming from them.
Speaking of a purple sector too, right there coming from them, I think that's their second one of the laps. So
this might be a quick lap, though. We are in the last minute of practice here, and actually I should probably type that out, or actually, if you wouldn't mind typing out real quick.
I got you right here.
Yeah, I'll just say 1 minute remaining, I suppose. This is not, and my bad, I'm on the qualifying screen, where this is actually practice. Then we go into quali, which is a 10-minute quali, followed by another 40-minute race. As we see, Labu, we were just saying how great of a lap that was for him. 1:57.7, taking the fastest lap away from Mooseman, who had a fantastic race last race. And
yeah, absolutely.
But now we're on board with Mooseman again in that GTR that he took first place with at Fuji last race, and he's put it in purple sectors. So, you know, maybe we'll see Mr. Labu have, oh my gosh, as he stomps on a Goomba, it goes up in the air. I've never seen something like that in my life.
That's some next level racing, that's what I say.
And this is why we need to ban sausage curbs, everybody. A Goomba dies every time. As Mooseman with a 1:56.6 takes that fast lap right back from Mr. Labu, says, nah, it's mine, I'm taking first in this race. So great race.
That's exactly right. you know, that GTR really worked well for Mooseman in Fuji. I think it's going to work really well here too. Again, not as long of a straight here, and that's good because in my opinion, I feel like that's the weakness of the GTR. As we see one of our open lobby friends joining in, our guest Delpis, have a moment to the wall.
I'm just gonna pause this real quick. I'm sorry for everyone viewing. I just don't know if that's okay. That's actually someone from the Discord that we haven't seen race yet.
Yes. Okay.
That is
fantastic.
Dylan. So, and I think someone knew him from previous races. So glad to see him. I am going to type out real quick on stream, and I'm sorry to show everyone the behind the scenes stuff, but I just want to make sure that everyone is aware. Mandatory before we start qualifying. Mandatory mediums. Or what's the best way I could put this? Well, medium.
Must use medium at some point in race.
Medium.
And really, I feel like this tire compound requirement aids to different strategies, right? We saw that play out a lot in Fuji just now. It was really fun to see, and we were sitting there guessing, oh, who's going to do this, who's going to do that, how is their pace and their fuel going to work out in tires, and it led to, I mean, really everyone but Specs, I believe, was a one-stopper. Is that right?
Yeah, Demon, I think, was on the two-stop.
Yes.
And we are starting quality. Yeah, I wish there was a way to have like text separately. Again, just wishing for like web apps or something like that for PlayStation or Gran Turismo. Just throwing that out there to any developers out there, or Polyphony yourself. Anyway,
with it being a console game, I don't know if Polyphony would be too into that, but hey.
Well, they make this Polyphony digital. Anyway, let's jump in to qualifying. 10-minute quality. I imagine everyone's gonna be on softs to get the optimal times out. We're gonna ride along with the man who took first place last race, Scoot Mooseman, and that lovely Ghost livery on his GTR. I love the colors, love the huge logo. That Ghost logo looks fantastic. As we get underway, now hopefully these guys have left each other a bit of room. The last race we saw some fighting in quality, which you don't want to be getting your elbows out in qualifying. Qualifying is meant to be setting the fastest laps possible. I do understand the frustration though if you're behind someone who doesn't have quite the same pace that you have. You want to get around them, and they may not let you. They don't have to during qualifying, realistically.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get off the racing line if you're doing an outlap. Obviously, with the 10-minute quality, we don't have too much time for an outlap, but just be respectful, be mindful of the people around you, and have a good race. Of course, some people may say, I want to be behind someone to get a toe on any straights. It can make or break a race sometimes. It could make or break your opening lap, and in a lot of cases, especially with our daily race lobbies, you best succeed if you can qualify first, right? Get away from everyone else, you set your own pace, and you just have at it. But for a lobby like this, I think we're going to be in for some close battles.
That's absolutely right, and I'm curious to see what car Specs is driving, and we're going to swap to him real quick. He was talking about swapping off the BRZ, but once again in that BRZ, and can't get enough of it, I suppose. It's been a car that we've questioned on some of these tracks, and honestly, I think the last track at Fuji was, it could have been his. He says he doesn't like Fuji. A lot of people don't seem to like Fuji as a racetrack. So it could have been that part as well, but it didn't seem like it had the ability to keep up with these faster cars on the straights. And Nürburgring has quite a few straights, but they definitely aren't as long as that at Fuji. So, having that top speed won't be as important as it might be there. And there's definitely a few parts where the BRZ, if it's a bit more nimble and agile and, able to handle itself, not like that, unfortunately, but, not drifting. Keeping all four tires pointed in directions that they need to go.
It's in the car's DNA.
It
just wants to go sideways sometimes.
I wonder how tail happy that car is, and if there's any setup changes. Now, granted, it could also be partially lag. Specs not in the U.S. and he's on the U.S. server and everything else. But I definitely see him going sideways more than a lot of other drivers. Now, so I'm curious about that car, if it's maybe a bit tail happy as he goes into the grass a bit in his opening qualifying lap. As everyone has gone through their lap now, we're gonna see as we're coming up in this latter part of this track what these times are looking like. Is Mr. Labu the first person up? No, it's just the order that we have right now. I don't know who's actually. Mr. Labu is the first person now, so we're gonna ride aboard with Mr. Labu, see what kind of time they're putting in. It seemed like they were doing well in practice, and you know, we'll see what they can put together here.
And Mr. Labu looking pretty comfortable in that McLaren, you know, seemingly pretty well planted and feeling good. Again, maybe, I don't know. Everything really depends. The cars depend, and the driver's performance depends on each car, but we'll see how they go here. You know, they got Gillett right behind them in the AMG, which I personally feel is pretty good around this track. And they did really well in Fuji in it, so we shall see. Really only seeing one different car from someone that was in the previous race, which is Crispy.
That's true. And Gilly takes the 157 too. I'm sure he had a little bit of tow from Labu, but Labu set 157 and change just before then. So, so listen, these times are going to be falling, I'm sure. But actually, it looks like Gilly is going to be holding on to that fastest lap. For now, we have a few stragglers coming in behind him on 158 from Demon, 214 from Delps. He must have gone off somewhere because those are not the track times you want to be setting here.
They did have a moment, unfortunately, where they were off in the gravel.
And I'm curious to see, Crispy sets a 202 as Mr. Labu sets well best sector. I'm curious, I want to jump down to Mooseman real quick, see what his lap time was. Neither of those.
Moose was pretty slow.
Did he actually do a 205? He must have, I guess.
Yeah.
Because the 155 was the lap, right? No.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, alrighty. So let's follow him along for this lap. See, he must have made a mistake. Maybe he got caught behind traffic. Maybe whatever.
Specs off in the gravel too.
Oh, Specs, come on, man. You can't be having that. Specs now in the pit. He's going to try to reset, I suppose. Or maybe his dog's bothering him again. That's the hard part about sim racing, man. You know, it's you got other people around you, dogs, babies, wives, husbands, partners, whatever. You get these distractions that if you're in an actual race car, listen, you know, they're not gonna be bothering you when you're sitting there. So, and as we see Moose just purple sector upon purple sector, it seems to be a much better lap for him. So really, I think we're gonna have quite the fight for first place here, looking like between Gilly, Mr. Labu, and Mooseman. I'm interested to see. I definitely want to follow along with Dopes, who is who's a bit of an unknown, as Gilly goes faster with a 157.1, but Dopes is a bit of an unknown for us right now. I'm curious to see what kind of laps that they can put together. And Moose with a 155.5.
Wow, there we go. Okay, we're seeing the times come in.
All right,
burn off some fuel. We're getting into it now.
That was a fantastic lap, and if he can repeat the same thing that he did last race, his Demon goes by with a 158.1. Delps with a 159, so that's better than his 215 earlier. Now, let's actually ride along with Delps. Okay, so they're in the Porsche, pretty clean Red Bull livery. Donka Seb.
The Donka Seb on the back.
All right, so they won my heart
Crispy
then.
with a 2-minute dead.
Good job by Crispy. You know, he's picking up the times and stuff like that, and you know, while maybe he won't be fighting for first necessarily with that lap, if he can, you know, be at the top of the midfield or close to it, fighting with people, that's all the better for him. And
yeah, we see Crispy in a different car from last race, and I imagine that's really just what's causing it. It's a completely different car from the Lexus, so
that's very true. I do wonder what his thought process was behind that change. I thought he was pretty happy with the Lexus, but maybe he wants something with a bit more oomph, a bit more speed, a bit more ka-chow, if you will.
Gotta go fast.
It's gotta go fast, you know. But Delps right now looks like they're having a pretty tidy lap. I say that and they put a few tires in the gravel. That, you know, doing that a couple times a lap is certainly going to slow you down and you know, give you a lap that maybe you don't want to be bringing in through quality.
Yeah, you're going through the gravel, you know, it's just gonna, not only are you going off track, but it dirties your tires and just ruins you for the next few turns until they clean up.
Yeah, that's very true too. So we've got about 2 minutes left on this qualifying session. So that's
We
going to
see
be
Dave,
one
not Dave,
through
but
up.
Giller finishing up his lap right behind Mr. Labu, getting another toe. Is this his
It might be his
strategy?
secret. It might be his strategy, but listen, nobody's got a strategy right now. That's currently beating Moose's 155.5. I mean, honestly,
Yeah, that
very
was a
impressive
wicked
lap.
lap.
We're gonna follow along with Mooseman real quick once again, and see if he
Even
can.
his lap after that was another 155. Now it was a half second slower, but still.
Oh, God forbid.
Well, that's what I mean. No one else is in the 155s.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he Crispy with a 158.8. Good to see those times
Nice
coming down.
improvement.
And as Mooseman sets into the purple sector. So this seems like it's gonna be Moose's race to lose. Now I'm curious to see. We are 5 laps in. Everyone's on the softs, and as we know, these softs are going to be wearing quite a bit. Moose, I think, did a great job last race as far as his tire strategy. What the call he made to swap to the mediums, and those were able to take him to the rest of the race. And he had to do a bit of fuel saving. Wow, another purple sector. This may be an even faster lap than his 155.5.
If he can cross the 154s, that would be very impressive.
Specs with a 158.3. Not as fast as I'm sure he'd like, but still fast enough to put him up in 5th. Wow, what a lap so far for Moose. If he can nail the chicane and the hairpin at the very end to make the straight, he is going to have a flyer. We may see like a 155 dead or better. I'm really not sure. But let's see what he can do. Oh, fantastic.
No Goomba squashing that time. Fantastic.
Fantastic job on that chicane. Come to the hairpin. What a line. That seems like a fantastic line. He's getting a great run out. Let's see what he ends up with. 155.1. That's quick.
That was
that is rapid.
Fantastic to see.
That is rapid. As we're ending qualifying, it looks like that's the 10-minute mark. So that is going to be it for Mooseman, I believe. I don't see anybody else getting rid of that though. David Gilly is in the pits. Mr. Labu, going to see what he can do to take second or first. He is just shy of second. Gilly is 2,000ths of a second ahead of him.
Yeah, really fantastic lap from Mr. Labu.
It's I'm kind of surprised because I didn't anticipate these cars, between the AMG and the McLaren, I didn't think that they'd have such close times. I thought maybe there'd be a few things separating the two cars, but it seems like the drivers are taking the most or getting the most out of these things.
From my personal experience, I feel like the Mercedes can be a little bit tough to wrangle around some of these corners, whereas the McLaren has always felt it maybe a little bit slower overall to me, but more willing to turn in, which maybe you could not say about the last 2 years in Formula One for them, but for this Group 3 car, it seems to be working really well for Mr. Labu, and let's see what kind of lap time they can bring
Mr.
here.
Labu is just is he just is that it? Maybe he ran out of time,
fuel,
or he's out of fuel.
Yeah.
And that car looks like he's got a little bit of fuel left, but I don't know if the UI would show absolutely dead or not. No, it looks like that's it. Alrighty, we're gonna swap back to the old camera view and let qualifying finish up. All right.
That looks like everyone's done. So
Everyone's done. We're just gonna type in here one more time. Okay. And starting the race in 3, 2.
got 44 minutes, 44 seconds left.
Yep, my bad.
All good.
Again, I don't host usually, so pardon me for the mishaps. Gotcha. Got him.
I'm just gonna tap all to them to reminder to keep it clean.
Nice, good. So looks like we have Mooseman 2 seconds clean of our second best qualifying with Gilly in second, Mr. Labu 2,000ths of a second behind in third. That was fantastic. And then we got Demon in fourth, followed by Specs in fifth, our newcomer Delps in sixth, and Crispy Nubbins in seventh. So in a different car than he was racing before. Alrighty. Now I'm not kidding. 3, 2, and send that. Start the race.
Alrighty, we're gonna get underway. This really should be, I would imagine, a very fun race. And you know, we have 7 people racing today, but even with 7, you can get some really close knit battles, and hopefully we'll get to see that on track today.
That's absolutely right. And you know, again, this is exciting because this is going to be our last race, I think, unless we do another weekday thing, which we may very well do. I'm not sure, but we have nothing planned at this moment. This may be the last time before the series actually starts next Sunday in Barcelona. So really, this is the last time for a lot of our drivers to be able to have, I mean, you know, granted, you can join the lobby or whatever you want during the week, but as far as racing with your fellow racers, this is the last chance that we're going to be able to get.
That's right. Last chance to finalize your cars and maybe get a setup for that you like and how you like it feels. But oh my God, Mr. Labu outbraking himself there. That is not great.
Oh no.
That's just ruined both him and Gilly. Race, it looks like there. And poor Crispy all the way in the back now.
Well, he started in last.
Oh, so maybe he stayed away from that wreckage. We don't like to see that. We don't like to see that. And during our series, that will be a penalty for contact. So we'll be keeping track of penalty points, racing points, all that jazz.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, Moose is going to benefit from that. He was rapid in qualifying. He was rapid last race. And you know, it looks like you give this you give this person a minute or
give them an inch and the 1 a mile.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for. And you know, he's pulling away. Demon, on the other hand, also going to be happy about the fact that he's now up in second. Specs is, I mean, everyone that was behind them, really, other than Crispy. So was Crispy also affected by that crash?
I think he may have had to slow down just to avoid it. I didn't get to see it happen in time. But, you know, that may affect their pit strategies. Everyone's came out on the softs. But maybe, you know, Giller and Labu will say, shoot, maybe we're going to change something up now. Again, they do have to go to the mediums, so pit now, get the mediums going while everyone else pushes hard. I don't know. It really just opens up their strategies now even more so.
That's actually a good point. You know, I'm curious to see who's running on what tires. I'm sure Mooseman is
Everyone's
running.
on softs.
Everyone's
right
on softs right now. Okay. Well,
as Mooseman's coming across the line here, already quite a gap to second place.
That may have been on me though, because I didn't give them enough time to change their settings, so I kind of forced everyone to think start on softs. So my apologies to anyone who was trying to change their strategy and is now stuck on softs. But you know, maybe that's maybe for some quick racing or some closer racing. So you know, you're welcome in that case. But
it may, you know, we'll have to see. But I tell you, it's really working out for Moose, man.
Working out for Moose. Specs having some fun here with Delps, and he just pulls ahead, taking third place. But Delps is not going to give that up too easily as Specs goes wide. Delps and Specs running side by side. Delps, I think, may have the legs on that Porsche, but actually Specs is making me proving me to be liars. Specs Delps gets some tires in the grass. That's going to give an opening for Gilly to come alongside him, and Gilly, I'm sure, is not liking the fact that he's all the way back there. So, you know, Mr. Labu as well, unfortunately, and but that was all from Mr. Labu outbreaking himself, he said.
Yeah, it looks like Labu just carried too much speed into that first turn and just threw it. I gotta be honest, I get it. You know, it's a tough first turn, but you really just have to be careful, and because now we see the consequences. Not only is his race compromised, but Giller's and possibly Crispy's was as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Is anyone running with any damage from what you can see?
Not that I could see. So you know, the contact did look like it was light enough that Giller and Labu were able to recover and keep those positions.
Okay.
You know, they weren't in absolute last, but Oh, look at this. All right, so Giller coming up and Delp is here.
Yeah, Gilly again. You know, this seems like it's a conversation. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. It just seems like suddenly Gilly keeps getting stuck behind people that don't quite have his pace, and he wants to get by him as fast as possible, as he does just before the straight here. And let's see if he's able to keep that maintained, keep that position.
Yeah, it looked like there was some contact there where Giller went for the inside, and yeah, Delpis maybe didn't realize on the radar, you know, he was cutting on the inside there, but it was clean enough. They were able to keep it clean.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Gilly
going
looks
a
like
little bit wide there. Give it Delpis. Again, that's the difference, in my opinion, between the Porsche and the AMG. But here we go. They're going side by side through turn 2 into turn 3. Again, not an easy one, but really nice line from all three of them there.
Yeah, you know, listen, sometimes you get your elbows out and you have a little bit of contact. I think that's just a racing, you know, incident you can chalk it up to. But, you know, just like what we saw between Giller and Delps. But it is good to see some good, clean racing between these guys. And like I said, I'm sure Gilly just wants to get a radio message from his racing engineer and that says disappear. But as I say that, Delps right behind him again. As he, oh no,
Oh.
was that Delps?
It sure looks like it. It sure looks like it. We're gonna have to look at that.
Was that like a
We're gonna have to look at that afterwards, because that
absolutely
is not a typical Giller thing.
That looks, I mean, it looks like he may have gone a bit wide, but it looks like Delps may have pushed him a bit wider there, and it looks like maybe Demon also had a moment giving Delps fourth place. That is unfortunate. Yeah, we're gonna have to see what happened there. I mean,
that'll be up for review, absolutely.
If that ends up being on Delps, that's just another. Oh my God, Delps is being a little aggressive here.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that gap was really open there.
No, he cut the chicane, he cut that corner.
Line. Yep. Yeah, that's not clean racing right there. Now, for the real series, we do, like I said before, we keep track of the penalty points. You can rack up enough where you are removed from the series, and we don't want to do that, obviously. We're just looking for a group of people to have fun with, and competitive racing with good racecraft, respect the drive. And I think that's, you know, it could have just been a mistake. Delps, you know, this is their first time joining with us. Right up behind Mr. Labu here. But that over-aggressiveness can cost you, and it costs you in a lot of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope maybe it's just a bit of a connection thing that maybe, you know, we're not seeing exactly what's going on. And, you know, the cinematic camera also doesn't exactly give the best point of view as far as these close battles here. But I guess we'll see what happens in the replay and with a debrief after the race. So we're gonna jump away from these two for just a little bit. We're gonna check in on Mooseman, who is now 9 seconds almost clear of Specs, who's holding down second, and Specs 7 seconds clear of Labu. You know, again, these guys are just, if they're not making mistakes, they're benefiting from the guys behind them that are making the mistakes. And it's unfortunate that these you know, some of these drivers' races have been compromised from someone else's mistake. But that's what the penalty system is for as well, and that's what we'll be doing after these races come the series start, as far as delegating or I guess giving out those points and seeing exactly what happened, when and where.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll be, you know, we hold on to the replays and analyze them. We can't do it in person. There's only the two of us. Can't do it in racing. Not to mention Gran Turismo doesn't give us all the tools available to do that, so it is the kind of thing that has to be done retroactively, which I don't care for in real life, you know, when the F1 races, when they figure it out hours after the race ends. But
no, I agree.
You know, got to work with what we got here. We're not the FIA.
But as we turn another lap here, we are almost a quarter of the way through this race, and you know, while you may look at someone like Gilly, who, you know, his race, you know, has been compromised so far, the race is still young. Anything can happen. You know, the guys further up the grid can make mistakes, or, you know, he's a solid driver. He's a great driver overall, and you know, so if there's someone that I feel like can pull something out, it's you know, he's one of them. And I do wonder how the strategy are going to be coming into play here soon, It doesn't look like this track is as hard on the tires as Fuji was. You know, I feel like around the same point already, lap 5 at Fuji last race, we were seeing quite a few tires that were not feeling so great. You know, they were saying Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good, and they were about to be wiped off the earth with a snap from Thanos. So far though,
exactly
they seem to be holding up pretty well.
It's just look like it's going to be a race of softs to mediums at this point, which is okay. You know, I think it'll give those people who are driving hard constantly right now, you know, their strategy will end up differing a little bit from someone maybe like Mooseman who can relax a little bit. I'm sure they're going to drive as hard as they can on these softs, but you really can do some more tire management, and in that case you'll pit later. You'll have those mediums which are fresher later than others, and it'll just allow your pace to continue to be higher. Now it does look like they'll have to refuel, and that's okay. That's all part of it, which is I like it, you know, because again, like last race, we saw some differing strategies with different amounts of fuel based on how you knew your car and how you know you're driving and what you can handle, all in the name of being as light as possible to allow yourself to go as fast as possible.
That's very true, and you know, it's something that I think every driver has to consider at some point. This is a race that so far, you know, it seems like this straight may be a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? It has a bit of stronger effect than I thought it may have had on as far as widening the gap between these drivers, and really a lot of these guys have to make up their spots or their time in the turns in the trickier spots of this course. It looks like for the most part though, everyone's pretty well paced on the straights.
Yeah, honestly, I always found most of my time around here in the corners. I mean, first of all, there's so many of them, but second of all, you really can just, again, find those better lines, outdrive the people in front of you, and when they're getting tired or lazy or not paying attention, you keep that line going, you stay consistent, you're going to come out in front.
That's true, and as we see here, I mean, Demon's been pretty consistent here. The gap behind him with Gilly has not exactly shrunk or grown. It's really staying the same. I do think he's pulling up a little bit here on Delps, you know, little by little, and at this point in the race, you know, you have to be patient. I feel like there's another 30 minutes left in the race, and you know, we're not in the pit window yet. I'm sure some will be starting soon, but and just like that, I was just about to say, penalties may also come into play at some point, and just even have a second, depending on where it is on the track.
It's a brutal one. This is on the back straight towards the last chicane.
That's what I thought. Okay, yeah. So that, you know, where you're trying to maintain and hold a bunch of speed, but you know, that may give a Demon fourth place then, if he's close enough. You know, he's about a second and a half within of Delp, so we'll be able to see if he's able to capitalize on that when it comes to it.
Yeah, Demon's really got to push here to close that gap as much as possible and make the most of that half-second penalty. I might have to go for 2 seconds to let my wife in, but we'll cross the bridge when we get there.
Wonderful. All right, well, we're gonna jump ahead a little bit here with Mr. Labu, see how he's holding up. Still maintaining about a second and change gap with Specs in front as he goes wide. Or is that just the line people are taking these days? It looks a little bit wide, but if that's not track limits, then I guess it's all right. They just have to try and, I guess it's part of, you know, this section seems all about maintaining as much speed as possible. So if going a bit wide allows you to maintain that speed, then it's for sure what you'll want to do.
Yeah, you really have to balance here and know the track where you're going to go wide and open up the course, and sometimes where you're going to cut the apex, and that's any track really, but it's especially important here because you cannot widen a lot of it. So in a case like Mr. Labu just now, you could see him take what he was allowed, and even here on the entry here, you open it up a little wider to cut across to the left, then you come back, you shift down, and then you come out of this exit towards a straight. I mean, coming up, it's great. It's a great track for this because, again, like I said before, you're learning track limits, you're learning the limits of your car. You're going to maximize your track time, the lap time with every lap.
Absolutely. And as we see here, Demon must have had a moment because Gilly He's capitalizing on that, and he's going to take 5th place from Demon for now. Demon's going to try to do the old switcheroo here on the inside of the chicane and see if he can't get ahead.
That is respectful driving.
That was, I mean, I think Demon may have cut it a little bit, and that's what's got, he slowed down quite a bit for, but that's just going to leave the door open for Gilly to get it, half second as Demon pits.
Demon's
We
coming
swap
into the
views
pits.
to Mr. Gilly once again, who's now 5 seconds behind Dopes. But again, if there's someone that can help make up this time, I know it's Gilly.
All right, I have to go let my wife in. I will be right back.
All right, not a problem. So as he sits there, that's the wrong person. I didn't want to cut to him. Crispy over here is 8 seconds behind Gilly. Unfortunately, kind of in his own race. No damage, it looks like, other than on tires. And I wonder how that Huracan is working for him. I personally don't really drive it that often, so I can't say. But I've heard from other people that it's not exactly their favorite car. And I have to imagine, coming from the Lexus that he's usually been driving, that it's a bit different. So I'm curious to see if he can make up some additional time and what his tire strategy is going to end up being, as we're going to jump back forward. Oh, as he ends up in some grass. That is not the strategy that you like to see, unfortunately. We're going to cut back up here with Gilly now, just about 5 seconds and change from Delps. And Delps over here is about stuff. So we see the track, we see the grid widening a bit even more. We're separating a bit, and now it looks like Demon is out of the pits. So let's see what he swapped to. He is on the mediums. So pretty early change. Back. Hello. Demon was just going to the pits, I think, when you left here.
Yeah,
and,
where did he come out on?
He's on the mediums, full fuel. So, as I said, as we were saying earlier, the tire wear here is not like it was at Fuji. So maybe these mediums can make it for the rest of the race. Fuel, he's going to have to be doing some fuel saving at some point, I'm sure, considering we have 25 minutes left in this race.
That's right. Yeah, I think maybe he's trying to undercut, get in the pits earlier. People are still going to be racing the softs, but he's going to have the fresher tire at this point. So
yeah, that's true. And I think if he's trying to undercut, that was a good time to do so. And hopefully he can gain some track position.
Pits. Delplus?
I'm just saying Delps.
Delps, yeah, I like that. Just had a moment. Losing ton of time on the track now.
Oh wow, yeah, they just gave that spot up to Mr. Gilly in 4th now. So I also said while you left again, I have faith in Gilly. I have faith in Gilly that they're gonna be able to make something of this race.
Faith in Gilly as well, but the tire difference between Gilly and Labu is pretty big, and we see some rear damage of Gilly's that probably was turned from that turn 1 incident between Mr. Labu and himself. But justice for Gilly right now. I think I hope he can come back and get 3rd place.
Yeah, I wonder how much that damage is affecting him or not. I mean, obviously he's got pace still that he's keeping up with drivers and able to make most of their mistakes. But if it were to come to an actual battle with someone, I'm wondering if that would cause him any trouble at all. But it does look like he will have to be pitting here soon. Fuel's low, his tires are crying a bit. I wonder if he's going to bother taking the time to fix that damage on the rear, or say, screw it, I'll race with it, and if it's not really that big of a deal for him.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing 159s somewhat consistently. It's been a little bit of back and forth, but definitely, we know he wants to be going faster than that, so it may be affecting him. And also, someone I meant to point out here, Crispy Nubbins is having quite a bit more tire wear than you might expect. And
maybe the Huracan of his.
Yeah, it could be the Huracan, which I do believe, if I remember correctly, people like the Huracan and the 458 around here. I can't remember quite, but he's hurting. And we know Crispy doesn't like to pit, but in he comes. He's got to pit.
Delps also pits.
Yes, yeah. 3 people in the pits right now.
As we jump in,
on everyone comes out of, but good time for Gilly to pit. I think good time.
I think so, and whether it was because I forgot to allow time for a tire change. that we're getting everyone in the pits at a similar time, but Moose, who has been crushing it up the field, almost 25 seconds north of second place at the moment, his tire is looking all right. This GTR seems like it's pretty easy going on the tires so far, and I mean, between that and his fuel his fuel usage, he may end up pitting in a couple of laps here and getting the most out of both his fuel and those tires. So kudos to him. But speaking of tires and tire wear, we know one man who's been pretty infamous for using up tires, and that's the BRZ Specs right here. Low on fuel.
Specs is pushing that. It's again, I don't know who's thirstier, Specs or the car, because you know, he's pushing it to the limit right now, and hopefully he doesn't run out of fuel or choose to pit now. I'd hate to see that. He has having a good race, keeping Mr. Labu contained and behind, and the tire wear. I mean, Mr. Labu still has the most fuel left of anyone that hasn't pitted as Specs comes in, and the tires are looking the freshest still.
They're looking, I mean, especially for someone who had an incident so early on at the first turn, right? Who's now running in second as far as track placement goes. Yeah, no, he hasn't pit, but like you said, his tire wear seems like it's almost non-existent compared to some of these other guys. Now, his fuel, on the other hand, you know, he's gonna have to pit for that probably sooner than he would tires, I would imagine. But I'm also, you know, those tires are getting close to half-life on all sides, so I'm sure that they're also not the easiest to be driving on as well. So for Labu, I imagine he's gonna go on the mediums and make those last to the end of the race, probably full fuel. I imagine almost everyone's gonna end up on the mediums at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, it looks like Specs just came out, and Specs came out of the pits still in third place, so only lost position, and we know that they'll likely get that back when Mr. Labu pits. Specs is on the medium, which obviously that's our required compound change for today. So everyone's going soft to medium. Really, the question is for those early pitters, will they be able to get those mediums to last the rest of the race? We're just now over the 50% mark of this race distance at race time, you know, and if you're pushing hard, I don't want to, and I'm sure other people don't, but there may be one or two people in here that have to pit a second time.
No, they're absolutely right. They're you know, depending on how hard these guys are going to end up pushing, someone like Specs may need to pit again. We saw D-Man last race pit twice, while I think everyone else made a one-stopper work. And as we see, Mooseman go into the pits with almost no fuel left. So that may give, I mean, Mr. Labu, I don't know if he's going to be able to take first here, if he's going to, actually, as I say that, Labu pits. So, but he may be responding to Moose, I imagine.
That's what I was thinking, and Moose, I mean, really low on the fuel, lower than Mr. Labu, it looks like, yeah.
Yep.
Not by much, but this is going to give Specs a chance, you know, to take first, and if they can create a distance, well, they might get there. I don't know. It's a big time, but we'll see. No, Moose is out. Moose has got a half-second penalty. Not sure what that could be for coming out of the pit lane, but they have more than enough space to get that up.
But yeah, though, I mean, if anything, this is going to allow Specs to try and catch up on relatively new tires and relatively full tank of gas. It looks like he'll be coming out very close to Mr. Labu, and he has closed this gap, but this is exactly what Specs needed and wanted as he takes second place, and there's a fight going into the first corner. Mr. Labu concedes. Yeah. Mr. Labu concedes.
Mr. Labu basically parked on that apex. And normally you only do that if you're defending, not winning. But Specs had the outside. He took it, has a position right back to himself, and his tires are already warmed up. So this played out really well into Specs' hand. Now we just have to make sure they can keep it, because as we saw, that McLaren of Mr. Labu is much kinder on its tires, much kinder on its fuel.
Sorry,
now,
yeah.
Someone who what's that?
No, I apologize. I was just, it's almost time for an afternoon nap. I feel like I'm feeling tired. I was yawning and I couldn't respond right away. I was just gonna say, you know, with the tire wear that the BRZ has had compared to the McLaren, I feel like Mr. Labu just has to sit there and wait, and he's gotta just, you know, he's like a hunter. He's got prowl behind, and just kind of take his time and not worry about it and just let the pressure build on Specs behind him. And the moment that Specs starts drifting or goes wide, whatever whatever mistake that may come, Labu can then take that and run with it and say, thank you for second place, I'll take this back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's funny, we were just talking about strategy and fuel and stuff. Demon, I don't know if you've looked at Demon. They pitted, they didn't fill up the fuel, and they're already wearing on those tires.
On those mediums, I'm kind of surprised.
I'm very surprised.
Given that they aren't that many laps old, right?
No, they're not. I mean, I do think Demon was the first to pit, but again, it's very surprising. Are they going to go soft, medium, soft, considering their fuel is already halfway done?
Well, we are over halfway done with this race as well, and if anyone else is doing any sort of tire management or the best of their ability, he may be saying, screw that. He's throwing it out the window and saying, I just want to race. I just want to go fast. And I mean, the double pit, while he wasn't on the podium last race, I think it ended well for him. And this is a driver who I've noticed is very dynamic. They seem to, they have pace constantly. They just always end up and down the grid, and you never know where they're going to end up at the end of the race. So who knows? Maybe if they are considering double stopping, it's going to work out for them, and maybe it won't. But at this rate, at this point in time, we're just going to have to wait and see. I am curious though about Gilly over here, also on the mediums. It looks like the mediums are also wearing a bit, but he has more fuel than Demon. So if Demon does end up having to pit, or maybe Demon has to end up doing a bit more of fuel management, then that could be Gilly's window into taking fourth away from him.
It very well can be. I feel like if you're ever considering doing a two-stopper when everyone else is on a one, you're not going to win. You're not going to come out in front because it's 20 plus seconds that you're giving up in your race. You're going 0 miles an hour. I mean, on a bigger scale, you see it when you stop on a road trip. You stop for 5 minutes, it adds 15. So you're stopping for 20 seconds. How much time is that adding to your lap, right?
That's a good point. That is a good point. And we also take note that Gilly did end up fixing the damage on the rear of his car.
I did notice that, yeah. Their lap times are no quicker for it just yet, but maybe we'll see as it keeps coming down. Or maybe that's, it's again surprising because we saw Gilly set the first fastest lap in quali, and we haven't seen that come down just yet, especially now on the mediums. I don't think we're going to see it, but we've had other surprises before, so. No,
but you would also think that maybe it's, that it would be closer than, 3 seconds off? 2 seconds off?
Yeah, one might imagine, but we'll just have to see as it keeps going. It's going around, and maybe getting some dirty air from Demon. I know right now they're 2.5 seconds behind, but as they close that gap, dirty air does not treat these Group 3 cars well. That's for certain.
Well, while Gilly tries to go ahead and catch Demon here, we're just going to run down the line real quick. We'll see what Delps is up to. So they are on the mediums as well. About 2/3 of a tank of gas here. Goes a little bit squirrely there. So, Delps, again, we don't really have much info on them as far as their racing past. I don't know, but the Porsche is a solid car. I think it's got good handling, it's got good power as well, and it seems to be it's well balanced, I think. So it tends to wear the tires relatively evenly, and you can also take a look at Demon for the same info. So it'll be interesting to see if he ends up having to pit a bit more, or if they're gonna be happy with taking 6th or maybe 5th if they can end up catching Gilly. Crispy, on the other hand, on the medium, same amount of fuel in that Lamborghini, and unfortunately, he was in last. He started last, and he got compromised by whatever happened with Labu and Gilly, it sounds like. So again, the bad luck, the bad juju striking Crispy over here, but again, that's for the preseason. Get it out there in the preseason, and then this man's gonna be on fire come next Sunday when we're at Barcelona.
Yeah, to be certain though, I mean, really, just look at the lap times. There's nothing below a 2 minute right now. And whether that's a reflection of the car or Crispy's comfort in the car,
and or
it's
track,
just, yeah, he's unable to hook it up. I mean, 4 seconds off the fastest lap right now for Moose Man. It's just not working, and just maybe a poor decision to change his car like this. But again, it's an exhibition; it's not the series just yet. So
if you're gonna do it, this is the place to do it as well, right?
Exactly right. Yeah, have some fun, change it around. Again, we want to have fun first, and before any points are on the line.
That's absolutely.
I'll tell you though, as you know, we were going down the line, I'm watching Specs and Mr. Labu go at it. Specs has not opened that gap like I thought maybe he would.
If he's been losing time, Mr. Labu has been pushing very, very hard here.
But the tire and fuel wear difference is just, again, astounding between those two cars.
Man, Mr. Labu's been on fire today, and just, do you happen to see their helmet lift?
Yeah, it's a little disconcerting, honestly.
It's a little, I'm a little scared to throw him, but yeah, Labu's been looking great in that McLaren, and clearly they've got the pace for it. And I know Specs was complaining a bit about the BRZ, but I haven't seen him. I saw him in one race in the WRX, and then he swapped to the BRZ, and I don't think I've seen him swap to anything else since. So it'll be interesting to see if he sticks with the BRZ or if he does some final testing this week and decides, maybe it's not the car for me. Because if he's not having a great time in it, and we are doing different tracks for these exhibition races, so that way everyone can kind of test different setups. I wonder what kind of call he's going to make as we're ending up here. Another lap down, we're starting a new one down the straight. Mr. Labu, half a second behind Specs going into turn one. Hopefully Labu does not go bowling again. Looks like he doesn't. Nice and tidy throughout turn one, while Specs on the other hand gets a little squirrely, and that means Labu's just going to try and be able to keep up with him a little bit more easily than if he wasn't. And
exactly right. And right behind them or not far behind them, is Demon, followed by Gilly. Gilly was catching up to Demon, and in the chicane got squarely, almost went sideways into the wall. And I'm glad he hasn't, but that just set him back another few laps. He's got to redo that work, as we got 9 minutes left in this race. I do think Gilly's going to take Demon. I think Gilly's going to take Demon for fourth. And this fight between Specs and Labu, I mean, it's not looking good in Specs' favor.
It's not. I mean, we said it earlier on this race when Labu pit. It's he just gotta be patient. He's gotta be patient and wait for the tires to wear on Specs BRZ and take. Look at these times crawling down. Labu's just so much more confident in that McLaren with the grip that he's got on those tires compared to Specs, and he's just waiting for his moment. He knows it's coming. He's got plenty of time left in this race to make it happen, and that's gonna hurt Specs. Specs gonna do all he can to defend the second place, absolutely, for sure. But I just don't know if he's going to be able to hold on to second in that car.
I agree. I think it's going to be a tall order from Specs. Unfortunately, who we know has not only impressed us with that BRZ and what he's able to do in it, but just overall seems to be a fairly consistent driver, but does have moments from here to there, just like all of us. But it's just not looking too hot right now. That McLaren seems to be the better choice, especially around this track for Mr. Labu. But I'm also happy to see Mr. Labu shape up a little bit. I believe as Labu in the first race they did with us was in the Porsche, right? In that green sort of monster livery.
I'm not sure if that was Labu or if that was someone else. Yeah,
it might have been Yuma. But I just do. This has just been a fantastic race for Mr. Labu is what I'm getting at. And just the earlier race as well. Again, unfortunate that it seems like the turn one incident really affected Giller. You never like to see that. And again, we'll be reviewing it later, but it's a good race.
Well, between that with Giller, and there was also the incident with Delps and Giller. So
that's right.
Giller's had two that maybe necessarily weren't his fault. And he's still in fifth, and he's fighting for fourth, right? As we're gonna cut to him real quick and see how he's doing. He's catching Demon, so you're absolutely right. I mean, listen, Demon's been doing great, and but I think Giller is hungry, and he wants to reclaim something for the race that has just not gone his way. And
well, here's the thing too, Demons shoot through his tank of gas. he's gonna have to pit.
He didn't have a lot, so he right? Yeah. Oh wow. Yep. Look at that. Okay.
Yeah. So while lightening a car may be good when you're fighting with someone like this for lap after lap after lap, and it's just not working out for you. I mean, here's the thing too, and this goes for Mr. Labu versus Specs. They've been in the back. They've had the tow this entire time, helping them cut through the air more efficiently. And here we go, Giller and Demon side by side.
Demon's got to pit this lap anyway. It's just a matter of time. Giller really doesn't even have to do anything ballsy here to get past his Demon. He's just gotta wait.
Just enjoy that slipstream.
I know he wants it. He wants to just get out in front of him and have some clean air, because he's barely had any clean air this entire race. But
there's no reason to push it. He
doesn't know the fact that Demon's low on fuel. All he knows is that he's faster, and that now Demon goes in the pits.
Now we see Demon in the pits. I can't even say that Demon should swap tires.
No, I would
just throw some more fuel in there.
5 minutes left. Just take the fuel and run. As we jump back on board, Mr. Labu and Specs. Specs still holding on to second, but Mr. Labu is right up there behind him. I mean, this man, he doesn't even need a magnifying glass to see through Specs at this point. He sees second place. Second place is Labu's, and it's just a matter of time. If Specs can hold him off for the next 5 minutes, I will be amazed. It
would be terribly impressive. As you see, coming out on the hards, I believe.
I thought it was hards or softs.
Softs, I'm sorry. Demon came out on the softs, and right behind him is Crispy. Crispy finally having some company this race. Again, this race has not gone well for him. I hate to see it. I do like Crispy a lot. It's not the car for him, it seems, or around this track, but he's got some company now. And again, he's behind him, where the slipstream definitely seems to be helping players out around here.
Yeah, I think there are just enough straights where, while it might not make the biggest difference like it does on a longer straight like at Fuji, there's multiple straights where if you're close enough, it'll help you close that gap and close that gap and close that gap.
That's right. I think if you have the patience, you stay up close and behind those people, it's going to pay dividends for you in the
Absolutely. End. And you know what? Speaking of, Mr. Labu just put a toe out of line, and now he's almost a second behind Specs. So
that's exactly what Specs wanted.
That's exactly what Specs wanted, needed, and he got it. But if we jump on board with Specs real quick, we're gonna take a look. All right, his tires aren't that much worse for the remaining time of this race. But here we come down the main straight, and you can just see that time coming down. Labu, if he's gonna make a move, he does need to make it soon, as we have about 3 minutes left of this race.
That's right, 3.5 minutes till the checkered flag. It is going to be close for P2, that's for sure. And it's been close for several laps now. So kudos to both of these drivers, not only for driving so consistently, but again, with good racecraft and so much respect in them.
Oh, it's been fantastic to see. And man, Specs is gonna make me eat my words if he doesn't concede this position to Labu. I said before it was Labu's position, and
looking really close coming through here. This is not typically a place where you see overtakes in my experience, but again, you keep that line tight, you keep your momentum coming through this downhill section, and it can do wonders for you. You have a sort of straight coming up after this hairpin too, so again, you get that right, you get up behind them, and it may help you out. Again, there's a few typical overtaking sections on this track, one definitely being the chicane towards the end, one being turn one, and even I think coming out of the last turn could be a good spot for people. It's that patience and it's knowing when to strike.
Yeah, well, that last turn going onto the straight, it's all about, definitely it's the line that you carry out. Are you able to go wide enough to carry the most speed through? But how soon are you getting on the gas? Is there, especially as these tires wear, it's like you have to start being a bit more patient, especially on something that tends to be, tail happy, like the BRZ of Specs. And that just means that he's going to have to maybe be a bit more patient on the gas, which can give someone like Labu in that McLaren some room, and he's going to leave the door ajar. Now we're coming up on that straight, and that gap is slowly coming down. It's coming down for sure. I mean, but we have a minute and a half left in this race, and Labu is going to have to find the time to make a move. I just don't think he's quite close enough just yet. But I say that I mean, it's really hard to tell at this point.
Yeah, you know, I think it's pretty clear that that last sector is either very good for Specs or bad for Labu or both. Because we see through this first and second, Labu making up a lot of time, being real up close next to or behind Specs. He's got to make a move before that last sector if he's going to make it, because obviously it's not working out for him back there. Specs goes wide, but keeping it together.
Specs may just pull this off. His fuel is quite low, but we're within the last minute of this race, so I think he'll be able to get to the end of the race. And I mean, man, if Labu's mistake a couple laps ago is gonna not let him get the second place, he'll be upset. But I'm sure he can also be happy walking away knowing that he had such a fantastic race. Specs making that car wider than it really should be over here, and just using all of his resources at this rate. He's low on fuel. His tires are screaming. I mean, and it's paying off right now. Specs not having a great race last race at Fuji, coming back, and you know, he really benefited from the clash behind him with Labu and Giller, and he pulled into second, and he maintained second even through a pit stop. So
yeah, it's exactly right. He's honestly fantastic race. Good to see, especially coming from him. Very low on fuel, as you said. You know who else is getting low on fuel is Giller, but we have crossed that 40-minute mark, which means the next lap's coming. You know, it's going to be the checkered flag coming up, and it's really, really something to see these two go at it.
Well, there we go. And the Specs takes second. Labu takes third. The rest of these guys are going to be finishing up here. We'll jump on board with Mooseman, see where he is at. Mooseman's just getting down about the halfway point through his lap. So let's see. Someone's crossing. There goes Gilly, taking home a fourth. We'll jump back down here with Demon, who, I mean, 30 seconds off of Gilly, you know, but Demon had a pretty good race. It's just that strategy call of the not filling up with the fuel. You know, if I don't know where he would have ended up if he had filled up more so, but
yeah, I wonder though if it's fuel. It could also just be their driving style not working out for them, as well as their fuel to you know, how lean they're running the cars.
That's true. That's true. Delps taking home sixth. Crispy Nubbin's not terribly far behind him. Crispy, unfortunately, just that was a race, you know, that he's gonna want to forget.
Mooseman basically had a victory lap of his own because he crossed right before the checkered flag, but coming home just around the last turn, taking home E1. Ooh.
Yeah, that was just a masterclass by Moose. I mean, granted, he benefited quite a bit from the chaos that ensued behind him, but then he just walked away with it and he kept it going. And I mean, you know, kudos to all the drivers. Good job to everyone for doing the best that they could. But Moose with that 155.9, first of all, let's talk about that. You know,
that was amazing.
I mean, just over second clear of anybody, faster than anybody in qualifying, even himself in qualifying. Specs making the most out of what happened to Gilly and Labu in the beginning, maintaining second place, holding it, and as much as Labu tried at the very end, he was this close. I'm sure Labu was able to taste second place. He just wasn't able to get it done, coming into third. We have Gilly, who pulled up fourth at the very end of it. You know, he recovered a race that most other people wouldn't have. So
yeah, absolutely. Gilly deserves a higher spot, but really did a good job today in damage control. Right, that was the name of the race. And his fastest lap was quite slow comparatively, but I'll tell you, for Specs, Mr. Labu, and Giller, I saw their fastest laps really only come into play really towards the end.
Yeah, yeah. And then following Gilly, we have Demon in fifth, who had an interesting race. Delps, a newcomer, had a few aggressive moments that we thought were questionable, but we're going to have to double check on those. Still pulled out sixth place.
Race anxiety, you know.
Absolutely pulled out sixth place regardless. Crispy, different car, got compromised by the shenanigans that happened with Labu and Giller. It's all in good fun, but you know, at the end of the day, you hate to see someone's race compromised by something that was out of their control. But listen, that's what the practice is for, I suppose. And he'll be hoping that does not happen going into the full season. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us today. That'll be it for our racing. Join us next Sunday, same time, starting at 1300 EST, 12 o'clock noon Central. We'll be racing Group 3 cars at Barcelona in Spain. No chicane because chicanes are boring. And hopefully we have a pretty full-sized grid there. Ryan, you have anything else to include?
I just wanted to mention that not only do we have our manufacturer series cups, but we'll be doing that every other Sunday, because the Sundays in between we'll be doing our MX5 Cup series, which definitely lends itself to some fast races. That starts on Sunday, July 9th at the same time, and we'll be starting at Tsukuba Circuit in Japan. So all of this information, we'll link it up down below. We'll have it up on our YouTube as well. And looking forward to people coming out and joining us. Now, if you wanted to watch this replay, it will be available on Twitch for a few days. It's also going to be up on our YouTube. We'll split the races into two. If you had a favorite part, feel free to share it around. We definitely appreciate anyone joining in today.
Absolutely. So with that, on that bombshell, I suppose it's time to end. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining in. Cheers, everyone.